defending the free market, and making the moral case for capitalism. The Justin Moore Show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Justin Moore Show, where we make sense of what's going on in this crazy, insane, out-of-control world. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you can tell right now, but I'm trying out my new microphone I just bought. And it's the Blue Yeti microphone. And so I'm hoping this will improve the sound quality of the show. Because the other mic I have been using is the ATR 2100, which I've noticed with that one, when I plug in my headphones, like it really hasn't been working all that well. And I can definitely tell with this Blue Yeti here, I can finally hear, so that does help. So I'm hoping this improves the sound quality and I can adjust the gain here. So throughout these next few episodes, I'll be, tweaking it, trying to get it just right. And so, yeah, we'll see how this goes. And I'm hoping I can just keep using this microphone here. I can use my other microphone as a backup in case something happens. But anyway, guys, what I want to do on today's show and what's been big in the news is the Trump carrier deal. Basically, just to kind of really break this down very quickly, if you haven't heard, or you just kind of heard headlines, okay, Trump, carrier, you're like, okay, what the hell is going on? Okay, well, here it is. Earlier this year, back in February of 2016, carrier, they announced like, hey, we're gonna move a bunch of jobs to Mexico, and they started building a factory over there. And during the campaign, Trump, he was in the Republican primary at the time. And yeah, I did. I still thought he was a joke back then. Oh gosh, come on. This guy's not going to become the Republican nominee for president. Come on, let's be real here. Well, now here Trump is president-elect. So, but now here we are. And so while Carrier announced this back in February, Trump came out at the time and he's like, hey, any companies are going to be like Carrier, where they want to send jobs overseas to like Mexico. I'm going to put up a 35% tariff on these guys, okay? And he also, threatened auto companies, all this sort of thing. Because Trump, he was a big trade protectionist during the campaign. And that's one thing I nailed Trump about over and over again. And I would play clips of Trump from the Republican debate, how I didn't like how he sounded like such a protectionist and how free trade is the answer, not protectionism. But obviously that kind of fell on deaf ears, and a lot of people support Trump because of his protectionism. It was way back, during when the Republican Party was started just before Lincoln became president. The Republican Party was a protectionist party, and they supported tariffs. That was their big, their campaign. And so it's like Trump is really taking the Republican Party back to its roots, But anyway, now we fast forward to the present day with this Carrier deal. And now, obviously, you guys know Carrier. That's the company that makes a lot of these air conditioners out here and heating units, that sort of thing. And now the parent company to Carrier is United Technologies. So I'm actually going to be reading a few quotes here from a few different articles, and they're going to be using United Technologies. So just so you guys know, like, wait, what? How did United Technologies get into this? Well, yeah, that's the parent company of Carrier. And so what Trump and Pence did, I think it was back on December 1st, Trump and Mike Pence went to Indiana, and they worked out a deal. And also they had like this Carrier guy also came to Trump Tower too. But what ended up happening with this deal, and so Carrier will receive $7 million in tax credits. And then Trump has also said that, hey, we're going to work to reduce regulations, we can bring costs down, that sort of thing. And I've made this point over and over again on my show that. And it's the point about regulations, that the cost of government and complying with government here in the United States is so insane. That is why so many jobs have been shipped overseas. And actually the number is U.S. companies spend over $2 trillion a year just complying with federal regulations. That is insane. But that's what they have to comply with. But again, this idea of businesses going overseas, it's a little more complex than, okay, yeah, just costs are, it's just because of regulations. That's why they're going overseas. That is a big reason why, but that's not the only reason why. But we might get to a little bit more of that later with this Carrier deal, because it is a little more complicated than that. So with this deal going through, Basically, Trump has extended an olive branch to Carrier / United Technologies, and Trump's been saying that, hey, look, I'm a job saver. We're going to save about 1,000 jobs here in Indiana because of the deal I worked out here with Carrier. And also with this Carrier deal, with Mike Pence, he's still currently the governor of Indiana. And so, I think Pence, when he was governor, when Carrier first announced this back in February, Pence was trying to work something out with Carrier. Well, now I'm sure Pence he sat down with Trump, really trying to get him to focus on this, and Pence still wants to make people of Indiana happy before he leaves to go become vice president. I don't know. There's so many things at play here. It's a lot to really dive through. But anyway, I'd have, just to give you guys just a few more numbers here, I was reading a piece from, and I'm only going to read just 2 sentences from this. This is from the New York Times by Nelson Schwartz. And this is from November 29th. This is before Trump and Pence went over to the Carrier plant in Indiana. And this is what he says. Roughly 10% of United Technologies' $56 billion in revenues comes from the federal government. The Pentagon is its single largest customer. With $4 billion in profits last year, the company has the flexibility to find the savings elsewhere. Okay, so, there's definitely some crony capitalism at play here, because the largest customer to United Technologies, which is the parent company of Carrier, it's the Pentagon. It's the government. And so there's definitely some of that at play as well, especially with Republicans. Typically, they like to intervene overseas, and so the defense budgets usually go up during Republican presidencies. And so, that's also probably another reason why United Technologies wants to stay here. Sure, they're getting that $7 million, tax credits, that sort of thing, but also think of the increased business they'll get because of increases in defense spending, military spending. It's all good news for them. So if you can stay on the good side of a Republican president, it's probably a smart move. So there's definitely a lot of different things at play here. But now let's just move on here. I found this piece to be interesting from the Wall Street Journal. It's by Ted Mann. This comes out December 2nd. So basically, before I start reading from this piece, because Carrier announced that they were going to, start moving their plant overseas back in February, they already have built the plant. Well, Trump responds to that, and this is where I'm going to come in here with the Wall Street Journal, and this is where we start off. I called Greg and I said, it's really important we have to do something because you have a lot of people leaving, Mr. Trump said Thursday, adding that he dismissed the CEO when Mr. Hayes responded that he had already built a new facility in Mexico. Rent it, sell it, or knock it down, I don't care. The deal that emerged this week is a relatively standard package of state incentives according to the people familiar with the agreement. In exchange for $7 million in tax breaks, Carrier will invest $16 million in its facilities in the state. The company will keep about 800 jobs. It had planned to move out of the Indianapolis plant, but it still plans to move 600 jobs from that factory to Mexico. United Technologies also will proceed with plans to close a second plant in Huntington, Indiana. That makes electronic controls, moving 700 other jobs to Mexico. The federal government is also an important customer. The U.S. military accounts for about 10% of United Technologies' $56 billion in annual sales for products like the engine for the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter. Okay, now I've already addressed some of these numbers here that I just read, but that just kind of lays out a little bit more of what's going on in the deal. And yeah, some of this money that the government spends through United Technologies is to build the F-35, which I'm sure a lot of you guys out there know how big a boondoggle the F-35 is, and just a big waste of money. Now I want to move here to the New York Times. Now we're going back to this Nelson Schwartz again. Now this is from December 1st. And I found these comments to be very interesting, where he's referring to Trump, and then later he has a comment from Mike Pence. And you're like, oh man. So listen up. On Thursday, as he toured the factory floor, here to stand credit for saving roughly half of the 2,000 jobs Indiana stood to lose, Mr. Trump sent a message to other businesses as well that he intended to follow through on his pledges to impose stiff tariffs on imports from companies that move production overseas and ship their products back to the United States. This is the way it's going to be, Mr. Trump said in an interview with the New York Times. Corporate America is going to have to understand that we have to take care of our workers also. Okay, now what Trump just said there, it really scares me what he just said. That this is the way it's going to be. Corporate America is going to have to understand that we have to take care of our workers also. Just how basically it's the idea that Trump is going to shake down businesses that want to send jobs overseas. That's a really sort of dictatorial mindset, isn't it? What is Trump going to go to every little company that wants to send jobs overseas and do this? Or try to work out a deal with them? That's not really practical, is it? And then, like I was alluding to earlier when I started the show, there's a lot of reasons why a company will send jobs overseas. You look at the idea of comparative advantage. There could be another country out there where they can do it more efficiently over there than we could in the United States. Obviously the labor costs in most of the world are cheaper than the United States, but it's not just about labor costs. What country has the best comparative advantage? In the long run, what works out best for the company? Obviously, these companies, when they make these decisions of building a factory overseas, there's a lot of risk when you do something like that. It's really hard to say. And with this carrier deal, Trump's saying, hey, okay, you built the factory over there. Well, I don't really care. Knock it down, sell it, whatever. I tell you. But then with Trump going out and trying to rescue these companies, okay, no, we don't want you to send jobs overseas. Here's some tax incentives. We want you to stay here. All these sort of little deals that Trump's trying to work out. Oh yes, Trump is the author of The Art of the Deal. So here he is. He's already cracking deals. But Trump is not addressing the root of the problem. All Trump is looking at is, okay, look at this company wants to move from this country to another country. Okay, we need to stop them from doing that. No, you're looking at the symptom, but what is the root of the problem? The root of the problem is government intervention with businesses and these costly business regulations. That is what needs to be addressed. That's what could stop a lot of these companies from moving overseas. But as our economy in the United States, we get more and more advanced. That's typically why countries like ours, we've moved more and more away from manufacturing jobs. Manufacturing jobs, they're low skill. You're doing the same thing every day in a factory. I've toured factories. I was over at the John Deere factory over in Germany back in 2013. These are guys, and going through these factory tours, it's actually pretty amazing to see. These guys are just installing these tractors on the assembly line. It's really cool. But anyway, during our tour guide is this guy, this old German dude. He could speak a little English, but he had that thick German accent to him, and he was just a hoot. But anyway, the guy was making the comment during the tour that these guys, they don't sit when they're working 10, 12-hour shifts. They're standing the entire time. It's a tough work environment. That's not necessarily a job you want to do for the rest of your life, is work in a factory. Sure, it's pretty good wages, but it comes at a cost, and it's not something you can do for decades and decades. Well, I guess people do it, but it's a harder job than just sitting in an office and using more of your brain power. But yeah, getting back to this idea that we need to get to the root of the problem. We need to reduce government regulations and government intervention in the economy. And one perfect example of this, and I've done an entire episode on it, look at Uber. Uber has bypassed a lot of government regulations here in the United States by calling people who drive for Uber, they're independent contractors, and they're not employees. Because if Uber had to call them employees, well then they would have to abide by a lot of these regulations that pertain to employees. And just again, if you guys want to learn more about that and what's all included in that, I refer you back to my episode probably from, 4 months ago, I'd guess. Just go back and you'll see it's something about Uber and mentioning a lawsuit, that sort of thing. But anyway, here, now I want to get to this quote from this New York Times article that's from Mike Pence. And now this actually really stunned me because, Mike Pence, all things considered, I think Trump made a really good decision choosing him from the conservative mindset. From a libertarian point of view, he is more of a neocon, that sort of thing. But in terms of conservatives, he's a really conservative guy. He seems like a relatively small government guy, and he definitely seems principled, and he does have a really good temperament to him, no question about it. He's not a guy that's gonna get hot-headed. I mean, he just seems like a great guy too. But from what he says right in this quote, you're like, oh crap, he sounds like George Bush over here. This is what he said. The free market has been sorting it out and America's been losing, Mr. Pence added, as Mr. Trump interjected, every time. And I mean, yeah, Mike Pence here really does sound like George W. Bush. Remember during the 2008 financial crisis, George Bush was like, hey, look, we got to abandon the free market to save the free market system. Yeah, now we have Mike Pence saying, well, the free market's has been sorting it out and America's been losing. What's he saying there? That the free market's not working. Okay, Mike Pence, get this. The free market is not being tried. It's the government that has been losing. It is the government that keeps screwing things up. And like I just brought up this example of Uber. That is one example of the private sector that's coming up with a brilliant solution to a problem. People want transportation to get from A to B, and you're bypassing the government monopoly with the taxi system, and it's completely free market. And they're bypassing all these government regulations by using independent contractors. But here the government is, once a company gets huge like Uber, Uber's $1 billion company now. Once they really start to become a quote-unquote success, the government steps in and they're like, whoa, we got to stop this. You got city councils in certain cities like, no, we can't have Uber. We don't want Uber in our town, that sort of thing. So they're taking crap like that. And then you have all these lawsuits that have been fired over Uber's way. I mean, they've had $1 million, actually just right now, they're still trying to decide on that millions of dollars in this class action lawsuit because people want to be considered employees that are working for Uber and not independent contractors. I mean, it's just crazy. So I don't get what Pence is saying here. What do you mean? The free market has been sorting it out. The free market isn't sorting anything out. The government is trying to sort it out. The government is trying to pick winners and losers, like this carrier deal. And yes, the taxpayer, we're the one losing, and the free market is the one losing because it's not being tried. The way out of this, the way for America to win, the way for the average consumer to win is with the free market. And then we have Bernie Sanders. Now, he decides to make a little comment in regards to this carrier deal. And I just have one line from him. Here's what he says. He has signaled to every corporation in America that they can threaten to offshore jobs. Oh, wait. I should do this in my Bernie Sanders impression. He has signaled to every corporation in America that they can threaten to offshore jobs in exchange for business-friendly tax benefits and incentives. That was Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont wrote in an op-ed on Thursday for the Washington Post. Okay, Bernie. Now, Bernie's making a decent point here, all things considered. You know, he's kind of making the point that, look, there's a lot of these people, once you start favoring one company because they lobbied the government, now they'll all want to do it. Well, look, that's going on right now as it is. It's called rent seeking, where companies go, they lobby government to try to get favorable tax benefits, favorable regulations that won't harm them but will harm their competitors and that sort of thing. So that's what's going on right now. And that's part of what's called crony capitalism. That's what I complain about here on the show. And that's part of the problem. Now, this idea of tax credits, there's different ways to look at it. I guess if you look back what Mises and Rothbard have said in regards to tax credits, they make the point that, look, tax credits are not subsidies. Now, there are many people out there, especially when you're going to college, especially with the liberal slant that's in the textbooks, they like to point out that tax credits are a form of subsidy. But what Rothbard and Mises make the point is that, no, they're not, because getting to save more of your money and it's not going to the government, then that's just wealth that's not being redistributed to another person. It's just you're keeping more of your money is all you're doing. And so I would actually agree with that because I don't see tax credits as a subsidy at all. But however, I do see tax credits, they can be harmful because it's the government basically fine-tuning and trying to tweak the economy in a way that they want. It's central planners picking and choosing how they want people to invest. I mean, they're influencing it because what you're doing, it's like, for instance, it's like with the electric car. So more people are going to buy electric cars than normally would. So now you have a larger market for electric cars. More resources have been diverted to the production of electric cars than normally would because of the tax credits. So it's these central planners influencing behavior in the economy, and they're influencing the way investments are made. And I have a problem with that because these tax credits, they result in a misallocation of capital with these, remember with economics in general, we have scarce resources out there. That's why there's such thing as economics. So how do you best divert scarce resources? And so they go to their best uses. The best way to do that is in a free market. When you have tax credits, that doesn't happen. Resources are not being diverted to their most efficient uses, but they're going to, capital goes to where it's treated best. Or for the entrepreneur's point of view, you're going where you can make a buck, and the government is influencing that. And is affecting that. And so that is the problem I have with tax credits and tax incentives, because we're giving the central planners power over the economy in that regard. And I guess, guys, I just want to leave you with one more thing before I let you go for today. And this is getting back to this carrier deal with Trump. And Trump, he likes to go out and attacking people, all this. Well, the head of the Union Steelworkers, 1999. He's gone after Trump, and there's been some tweets back and forth, and and I actually found this to be quite entertaining. So this is coming from Fox News. Trump and Vice President-elect Mike Pence, governor of Indiana, visited Carrier's Indianapolis factory December 1st to celebrate the deal. Trump suggested that the number of jobs saved could top 1,100. Jones says the total is much less because more than 400 jobs will still be lost from the Indianapolis plant. In the post-interview, he accused Trump and Pence of staging a dog and pony show around the Carrier deal. And when Trump heard about this Chuck Jones, this guy that's the head of the United Steelworkers Union, when Trump heard about this, well, Trump, he responded. and of course, Trump, he went right to Twitter, and this is what he said. Chuck Jones, who was president of the United Steelworkers 1999, has done a terrible job representing workers. No wonder companies flee country. I'm glad Trump got all that in 140 characters. So he did that tweet, and it's like an hour and a half later, he tweets again. If United Steelworkers 1999 was any good, they would have kept those jobs in Indiana. Spend more time working, less time talking. Reduce dues. Oh, Trump. I really do wonder, is Trump going to keep tweeting out like this when he's president of the United States? That's what I wonder. Yeah, so anyway, so that Chuck Jones, he's just mad that, hey, Trump, he's exaggerating his claims, how many jobs he'll save. It's not going to be 1,100. It'll probably be around 800, So, whatever. But it's probably not a smart idea to pick fights with Trump, who's going to be the next president of the United States, and he doesn't take crap from anybody, Then again, why am I saying that when I'm doing the exact same thing here behind the mic? But anyway, guys, that's all I have for you today. You can go to my website if you want to catch up on some old episodes. I have, like 119 of them now, I think. Just go to justinmoreshow.com. More is spelled M-O-H-R. You can click on buy your little Amazon goods through my link there. I get a small commission back. It costs you nothing extra. And also, like I've said these last few episodes, go and join Tom Wood's Liberty Classroom. Anyone who signs up through that, I will send you for a limited time, I will send you my bonus episodes, and you'll be in a drawing for a silver coin. Ladies and gentlemen, please do that. And also that widget is on my website too, to see the picture of Tom Wood's Liberty Classroom. You just click on that right there, and that's all you got to do. And I will make sure to send you the bonus episodes. I just thank you guys so much for being here. I will talk with all you guys next week, and I'm looking forward to it. This is Justin Moore, signing off.